Coming up on the Phoenix Magazine podcast, a Dish Fest recap, and we get into the brand new March-April issue of Phoenix Magazine, the annual Top Docs. All right, we'll talk about our newest issue, Top Docs issue of Phoenix Magazine in just a minute, but first we want to talk while it's still fresh in our minds and fresh in our bellies, our takeaways from Dish Fest. And Amanda sitting to my right here. Amanda is our new events planner, events coordinator in charge of what you guys saw at Dish Fest. And I just want to bring her on real quick to congratulate her on a Dish Fest that was, I thought, bigger and better than ever. So Amanda, well done on Dish Fest this year. I think a lot of the paying customers agreed. Go around the room here. We got the whole Phoenix team here. What did you guys think of Dish Fest this year?
A+.
Yeah, don't all start at once. You guys.
There wasn't enough time for me to eat more, as much as I wanted to eat. I wanted to try it all, but we had jobs to do. But
did you guys have a favorite dish? Mine. I'll start with mine. Mine was from Las Guidi Cafe, which it was the most surprising to me because, it's a food truck and not well known, but we wrote about them in the last issue, had them out there. And that was, honestly, they had this, what was it, jollof rice with like some bits of meat in there and on this perfect little like spoon dish that was, you didn't need your hands or a utensil or anything. That was my favorite. I don't know what you guys
They were a
think.
little cagey about the preparation. I asked them, they're lovely people, about the beef that you're talking about. It was slow cooked beef. And then the sauce was kind of a spicy red sauce. So I asked them and they, went through the usual suspects. Garlic, onion, and then a few we can't tell you about because we need to keep our secrets. I'm like, all right, I get it. That's fine. So, Nigerian food. So that hopefully they'll have a brick and mortar someday. That seems to be the trend.
All right, who else? Who ate something good? I didn't get a chance to get anything from Nelson's or Toasted Mallow. I think they might have set the record for going out of food the earliest at one of these things.
Reason. Those are definitely two standouts for sure.
I ate 3 of the Gravlax at Nelson's, so I think it might be me that's responsible. Mine. I ate 1% of their Gravlax apparently. And it was great. It was it's like lox, but not cured and not smoked. Or actually cured, but not smoked. It reminded me of a salmon you get at a sushi place, high-end sushi place, kind of caramelized a little bit. They wrap it in, what was the herb they use, Leah?
I didn't get a chance to try that one, but my guess would be dill,
right. Dill, right. And
classic salmon.
They wrap it, they let it, kind of caramelize, ferment for a few days. Then they put it on this lovely Swedish rye bread. It was great. Wonderful.
I really liked Lincoln Steakhouse. It had like a little savory tart with cassoulet beans and braised pork, I believe. And my goodness, that was my favorite. I had 3 of those.
Yeah.
I really liked, I'm not going to say this name right, but it was like the red meat from Casa Corazon. That was really good. And then top-notch kitchen flavor. I know.
Or the jerk
long
chicken.
name. Yes. It was so good.
I second top-notch.
Yes.
Island flavors.
I'm going to go with, because I do not eat meat, but I am a big seafood person, and I was really stoked on all of the seafood options at Dish Fest this year. Standouts include the Vig's Aguachile, I believe it was. And then Que Sazon had a little crudo plantain situation, which was fun and unique. And
Terradito, right? It's the Peruvian ceviche.
Yes.
The leche Tigre de leche. It's like a creamy.
It was creamy, and then with the plantain, it was crunchy. So there's a lot of flavors, a lot of textures, and
Kamara's crab fried rice.
Exactly. So there were, and each one was different. It wasn't like, oh, I tried the ceviche from blah 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 and the aguachile. Like everything was just very different and delicious. So that was a fun little taste of the sea.
Very cool. There was a lot. Yeah, you mentioned that. I think the Carcara had a shrimp ceviche in this gigantic ice sculpture or carved out ice tray, like two double-decker type thing. It was real. I thought they probably had one of the better presentation tables of the whole event. Amanda, this was your first Dish Fest working with us, working with Johan, our marketing manager. What'd you think of it?
So most event planners, they don't get to eat most of the food or drink most of the drinks, but I did have a couple of vendors like sort of pass me glasses of wine while I was running, so that was really helpful. Toasted,
like a marathon runner,
yeah,
grabbing
pretty much.
a
Instead of Gatorade,
Just
it was
fueling you as you
champagne.
go.
Yeah, that was great. No, I mean, from what I've heard last year, I mean, we had 34 vendors last year. This year we had 55. A huge shout out to the Phoenix Mag editorial team for calling all of our vendors that were highlighted in the January-February issue, the Dine Around the World Without Leaving the Valley. And I think this year's Dish Fest had a really global presence. A lot of our attendees did say that they did love that there was different cuisines that they'd never tried before and that they found that they really love. And we're going to continue to visit those types of restaurants. We had a big winery partnership this year that I thought was a really big value add. And then our chef demos were really great too. So,
Yeah, the demos drew nice crowds.
Yeah.
That was good to see.
There was a lot of people that were like trying to time out their whole day around the next demo and checking their watch and let's make sure we get out and see the next one, that sort of thing. So it was a good addition this year.
Definitely. I was impressed that the some of the beverage providers, I guess you call them, like Rent House, also had a food. They have a new culinary program at their location in Ahwatukee. So it was this like beet and pork, like slow cooked pork, kind of medley. But it all, it's interesting when you slow cook pork, it has kind of the texture of beets. So it all kind of blended together. You weren't sure if it was
like
beet or pork.
Braised beets.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And he did a demo, I think.
He did. Chef Derek Christensen.
Yeah, very nice. Very talented guy.
He just he created the food menu at Rent House Suit Hall, their new location in Ahwatukee.
Right.
Yeah, it's a cool location. They brought out beers obviously to pair, and like Catalyst Crafted and Salt Tacos had the same kind of a setup, beer pairings with whatever Salt Tacos was making.
Tacos
so they were intentional about that sort of thing. So well done all the way around. St. Patrick's Day this year probably won't fall on St. Patrick's Day next year. So
no, we're still looking at March. So March 2025.
Very good. Amanda, thank you again so much for organizing everything. And you and Johan did a great job this year. So we'll just we'll kick you off the microphone here and we'll talk about the issue here. But well done. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay, let's now get into our latest issue created by the wonderful team here at Phoenix Magazine. Top Ducks, March-April issue. Bigger than better than ever. This thing, I mean, you're going to need to look up some doctors after like lifting this thing, right? I feel like I'm going to hurt my shoulder or my back lifting it.
You might need an orthopedic specialist.
That's right.
Reading it.
Right there.
And there's
right there on like page, let me look it up real quick. Page 172.
There it is. Positive feedback.
No notes, but biggest. Is this one of our biggest issues of all time? 440 pages. What would
that
you say?
That is the largest issue in the history of Phoenix Magazine, I believe. Yeah.
And give people a little bit of background, a little insight into what kind of goes into making up our list, if you would.
This is actually the 30th issue we've done. We didn't plug that on the cover because it's not the 30th anniversary. It's just the 30th issue. I know that doesn't make sense, but 2025 will be the 30th anniversary. It is that we have them about roughly 60 specialties. I think we're around 62, 63. It's in there. I kind of forget. We hold an online vote of Valley physicians in December. They can vote in any of these specialties. We usually receive around 2,000 ballots. So that's roughly 20% of the practicing population of Valley physicians. And we take between 5 and 10% of the highest vote getters. So it represents the 5 to 10% of the most voted on doctors. And then we check their board certifications, make sure that they have clean board records with the Arizona Medical Board and their specialty bona fides. We make sure that, for instance, if they're a plastic surgeon, they're boarded by the National Plastic Surgery Board. And that all is very time consuming.
Specialties? Any new specialties this year?
Yeah, there were a few. There is neonatal medicine, otherwise known as perinatology, which is medicine dealing with the health of a mother and child. high risk pregnancies would fall within their purview, geriatric pregnancies, that kind of thing. And then also integrative medicine, which incorporates some, I guess you might call them new age principles of general healthy living with medical care. And those are the two new specialties this year. So. Yeah.
A lot of great Q&As with the doctors that all came in for their photo shoots. Mirelle is always in charge of that with the wonderful work of Steve Kraft, the photographer who comes in. And we all sit here and you chat these people up for, their photo session is 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is. What do you learn from talking to some of these guys that come in, guys and gals that come in?
Wow. They're some of the most low-key interesting people. They're not flashy going around talking about how great they are most of the time.
Yeah, the non-diva attitude, right? For sure.
Have there been any, though? Divas over the years?
Do tell.
Yeah, let's go to the interesting ones.
Let's see.
Because Mirelle does meet them.
I'd have to go down the issues and I remember that guy.
I remember one that came in that needed a little bit of red wine to kind of unwind.
Yeah, that was last year. That was last year. Profile-y. She was very nervous. She needed a little relaxation, not a big deal. Nobody's going to die here, or maybe at work, but not here. You're safe. You're good.
Diva MDs. That sounds like a new feature.
Yeah.
There we go. Good segue. We'll segue to that later for sure.
But we did. We actually had red wine in our storage cabinet there.
Luckily.
You,
Keep it around the office.
Yeah, we actually have a lot
For
more now
emergencies.
from Dish Fest, so doctors come on down.
Yeah, a lot of them, they're authors. They've written, medical chapters in medical books. One doctor, Dr. Sue, he brought in a device that he helped develop. It was a really microscopic catheter that kind of can navigate itself to the problem area and fix it. That's amazing to me. Another couple.
I've been looking for a smart catheter for my home use. Yeah.
Just zap the problem away. Just
Yeah,
zap,
sure.
zap, zap, like a magic wand, I guess. Another couple,
Leah's
don't know the names.
thumbing through the pages of this gigantic issue.
440.
Are you talking about Carrie Francois?
Well, a couple, they're part of they own part of the Phoenix Rising soccer team. We had lots of fun.
Were those the ones we went out on the shoot last year and we met those guys?
They weren't on there.
Oh, okay.
So he was one of the
Some
owners
different
at the
ones,
time,
okay.
but he was not included in that shoot for whatever reason. But yes, same crew of doctors. And the wife, taught me about glimmers, little things that you can do in your day-to-day that make you happy and upbeat and energized. And that was fun. Rishi, the Rishis. Her husband's also a doctor as well. Not sure if he's on the list. I should have looked him up.
He's also she's an allergist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's as well. He's also an allergist.
Okay, so is he on the list? Do you know?
I don't think he was on this year's list. No.
Okay. But he came, and they were so much fun to talk to.
Yeah.
Gosh, every one of them, and some of them just have really great senses of humors and subtle. And Dr. Fabrasia, the organ transplant surgeon, he was so much fun. He literally was just getting out of an 11-hour surgery. Insane. Rolls up, wearing his surgical cap, and he brought license plates the Donate Life license plates. And he wanted to do a mugshot style. He had an artistic vision for his photo, and I thought that
Hopefully
is so
he
much
scrubbed
fun.
out before coming here, right?
We totally what was that? I'm sorry.
No, I was making a joke about it. Hopefully he scrubbed out,
Yeah, I was going to ask about blood spatter. Ain't blood spatter?
I didn't detect any blood spatter on him. I think he
good
had
surgeon.
cleaned
No
up to that
biohazards.
point, but he had his surgical cap on, and maybe he wanted that as his look, or no, he brought it with him and then he put it on. I don't know.
That's
He
a
had
great
his-
segue, though. He's a transplant surgeon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Maddie did a whole feature on transplant
Yes.
surgery.
Really, really well done, Maddie. Talk a little bit about that because we can get into kind of the nuts and bolts of what people might think of is a transplant, and you obviously know the heart or whatever organ is going to be very delicate to work with. But you wrote more about the personal touch, the delicate nature that has to go into the people side of it, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of the aim when I first set out to report. And actually, I feel like I want to give a little bit of a backstory because the initial idea was to go on a sort of ride along with this local aviation company that I write about in the feature, Sawyer Aviation, who kind of moonlight as transportation in their private jets. So I thought it would be cool to kind of have
They actually transplant or transport the organs.
Yes.
Is that all they do, or are they
No,
a
so
full
they are
service?
a private aviation company.
Sure.
So, one night they might fly a bachelorette party to Vegas, and then the next they're transporting a heart to wherever it needs to go.
I love that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
That's
And I mean,
amazing.
it really is like that. That's why I think it was so interesting too, is highlighting the, things that you might not expect of this company here in the Valley that are really helping save lives. And they fly as close as California, and they've flown as far away within the country like New Jersey, East Coast. And they really don't know where they're going to go until a couple hours before. They're like, hey, a heart's available at this hospital in this state. And then it's go time. So
You found some really interesting trivia too. Like, what is the organ that's hardest to maintain its health?
right. So I believe that the heart, and I'm going to have to reference my own story because I don't want to, I did a little sidebar where I talked about, kind of the step by step of how this works, because I think that was really insightful, because I personally didn't know anything about like how do they know that an organ's available and how much time do they have. And so one thing that I thought was really interesting is that each organ, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidney, they all have different
Shelf
what is it
lives.
called? Yeah, cold ischemia. Yeah, more
There you go.
scientifically.
That's a better term. Yeah.
That if they're not implanted or extracted from the donor and implanted into the recipient in X amount of hours, it's no longer viable. So I believe the heart is the most kind of delicate.
And lungs, right? Also.
Yes, heart and lungs are kind of the main ones, and I think it's
So usually heart and
a
lungs
couple
are
hours,
Yeah, usually
under
those
6 hours.
usually those are transported within Arizona or adjacent states.
Exactly.
Occasionally, you said though it can go to the East Coast if no one here is available.
Mhm.
They'll go farther. And then kidneys had very long cold ischemia.
Right. So a kidney, I think it's under 24 hours. So that has a little bit more leeway. And I go into this a little bit in the story too. Some of the doctors that I interviewed, as well as Chad, the CEO of Sawyer, are kind of developing these technologies, these apparatuses in order for an organ to stay viable longer and is able to be transported farther. So that's kind of an important component of it as well. But really, to answer your question, I started with kind of this human element and the personal stories of people losing their loved ones who are organ donors and how they are able to save the lives of strangers. And I tried to kind of intricately weave that together with the science stuff too, which I think is an important part of it, and a lot of statistics. And I'm really proud of it, because it's not what I thought it would turn out to be. It was it felt like an art piece in that way, where I was like, I'm looking at this canvas and I don't know how it's going to turn out. But
We were in a weird position too. We wanted to find the right organ to follow for you to do your ride along. So we weren't hoping for an organ,
Right, it was
but we
bittersweet.
thought it was inevitable that they'd have one within our time frame, but it just didn't happen.
And while I was waiting, I was doing, background reporting. I was interviewing doctors. I was interviewing donors, or the families of donors. I was interviewing recipients who had received, life-saving organs, a liver recipient and a lung recipient. And I was learning so much. And then, the end of the day, I was just like, wow, I have a lot here. And it was just really, I definitely was holding back tears while I was interviewing these people.
Yeah, aren't
And
those always the
they
stories
were.
that get
it
you?
was,
Right.
no pun intended, but tugging at my heartstrings. Like, it was really very emotional. And I really tried to, tell these people's stories with grace and accuracy. And I hope that ultimately that's what I did, but
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Great
You
story.
Yeah.
did, Maddie. I think it's one of the best things you've ever done for us. Like I was crying from the first
don't
paragraph.
make me cry again.
No, I'm serious.
I
was
put
like,
this behind me.
I was crying throughout the whole time editing. I'm like, why are you doing this to me? Like, this is too much to deal with right now. But, and I wanted to compliment you on, it's very easy to emotionally manipulate people with our words, but I didn't feel you did that. You were just like being very straightforward in your reporting, but it was just happened to be very impactful. So just compliments to you. You didn't take the easy route of being schmaltzy. You just did such a wonderful job. So
Thank
I just
you.
can't say
That
enough good
means a
things.
lot because that was, I think, one of the biggest challenges with this. And if you read the story, I really like hook the reader in right away with this really emotional story about this woman who lost her husband suddenly and he was a donor. And I didn't want it to be like
Schmaltzy.
grief porn. You know what I mean? I didn't want it
Sure.
to be like
Maudlin.
especially just out of respect for her and her family. Like I really wanted to tell her story the way she told me. So that means the world to me, Leah. Thank you. And I'm glad that I was able to achieve that. And
Very cool.
I just learned a lot about, at the end of the day, I think the biggest takeaway for me was just learning how organs are shared. Like there's this whole network and
Yeah, it's so interesting.
I have, I'm a donor. I just checked that box when I got my driver's license and I never thought twice about it. And I don't know. I hope that readers kind of take that away as well. Like, oh, I'm a donor. Like this could be me someday. So I think it's also impactful in that way, hopefully.
So we mentioned Diva MD. I think we were kind of maybe floating that as an idea for a future issue, but that brings us
I'm not
right.
sure if we'd have any willing participants in
Yeah,
that
sure.
one, but
Be an investigative piece.
Yeah, that might need to be a reader submission. I don't know.
right. Hey, if there are any out there, we always listen to pitches. So.
But I guess that segues into the next big feature in the issue, Side Hustle MD, where doctors kind of moonlight for other projects. They have side hustles. I've known the first guy in the feature, Zudi Jasser, for years. I used to
Really?
have him on the TV when I did Channel 3.
Yeah.
We'd have him on for segments, newsy kind of guy. Now he's running for Congress.
I've always wanted to get him in the magazine, so this is a good opportunity.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. A Muslim who's very much against the how does he call it? Like the terroristic side of the religion, the
Yeah, I
people who
think
kind of hijack the religion.
Well, definitely that. I think most people in general are, but he also is kind of draws a line between politics and religion. I think he likes to separate the two, and I guess what you might call a classic American tradition. So he does have strong feelings about that as well, not mixing Islam in this case with politics. So he thinks of himself as a progressive Muslim and is kind of envisions this new progressive form of American Islam, the way he thinks of it. So interesting fellow, and he's running for Congress now in District 5, which is the district, Tempe, parts of the East Valley that Greg Stanton currently represents.
So he'll try to run against Stanton then in November?
He's one
Okay.
of 3 Republican candidates at this point.
Okay.
He's running with him. And yeah, he was an interesting guy. The writer, Sydney, she was an ex-intern. She did a great job on it. Sydney Wilson. I always want to say Sydney Sweeney. She's the main Sydney out there. So
Well, that would sell some magazines if
That
we
would
had
really-
Sydney
that would
Sweeney.
move a lot of these 240-page issues, 440. And then she found 4 other doctors who also have interesting, avocations, filmmaker.
Your one does a skincare company.
He does hair loss medication that he sells commercially and other skin products, and a photographer. Interesting group of doctors. We've kind of done this concept before. Every few years we'll do it.
Yeah.
It's just a great way to to show a colorful human side behind a lot of these healers that we have in the
Yeah, I love the artwork in it too. Morelle really spiced it up there, especially with the who's the filmmaker that
Oh yeah,
Chris McDaniel?
Yeah, that was fun. I actually got to photograph him for that, and then do a photo composite with the rest of the old timey film equipment, and the others were just provided photography. It was kind of born of necessity, time and budget, kind of. But it was a fun way to illustrate it. That was Craig's idea. He really wanted it like a stylized, fully immersed photo that represented their moonlighting game,
Right.
if you will.
And then Mirelle made the point that it might be super expensive to create sets around that, so she used her digital magic to make it just as good. Thank God you did. So yeah, this whole issue is about not just medical care, but also general health care. And Leah also wrote a feature about Mexican folk medicine traditions.
Yeah, tell us how to say that word, Leah, because I've read it so many times that I'm like, all right, I'm going to butcher whatever it's called.
It's curanderismo.
What she said.
Yes, which means healing. Curar, to heal. So yeah, this is something that kind of sprang from a previous piece I did for Top Docs a few years ago. I profiled one of the curanderas, which is a practitioner of curanderismo, Felicia, who I profile in this article as well. So wrote about her a few years ago, kept in touch with her, her career kept getting bigger and bigger. Curanderismo started getting, more and more popular, known to the mainstream masses more. And Craig was kind enough to let me do a deeper dive in this one. And I just learned so much. As he said, it's a Mexican healing, tradition that comes from the intermingling of a lot of cultures in Mexico. Mexico was a big melting pot even before we were. And so there are like Arab influences, Asian influences, indigenous, and of course, European colonizers as well. So very interesting. It's like a sister tradition to voodoo or Santeria. And just, it's like where body and spirit meet. So
is much of it herbal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots
That's
of
my
plant
takeaway. I was going to ask about that. It seemed like a lot of plant life was involved in that. Is that a little bit too generic?
Oh no, 100%. It's all about connection with the earth, connection with ancestors. And so lots of the medicine is plant-based or using nature in some form, be it water, like water therapy is very big as well, temperatures. And so they're very clear though to say, if you have cancer, go get chemo. Like we're not saying like take this, yerba de San Juan for cancer, but they can work in conjunction with your physician to help you alleviate the symptoms.
A lot like a naturopath.
Exactly. Yeah. And I actually talked to a naturopath who some of her work overlaps with some of their work and the ways that all of these healers can work together. It doesn't have to be a binary, like, oh, I have a quote unquote Western medicine doctor or this. You can do all of it.
I found it interesting too that the practitioners were protective of it in the same way that any, physician or chiropractor or anything is protective of their field. They made the point not anyone can just go and do it.
Exactly. Yeah, because a lot of it is about ancestor reclamation and getting in touch with their ancestral pathways that were kind of severed by colonization. So they're saying, obviously any one of us could go receive the medicine, but should we practice it if we don't have Chicano heritage? Probably not. They're like, get in touch with your own ancestral ways of healing. And so that's got me thinking I need to do some research on my French ancestors and how they would heal.
And do some bloodletting, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's really cool too how it's not like they're gatekeeping this practice, right? It's like they're just addressing the sacredness of it. And I think that was one of my favorite parts of that article is you just talking about that and I just in a really gentle way. And I think that it's that was my favorite part because I was curious about that too. It's like it's not like they're like angry, like, oh, you can't do this. And they're obviously very, like, I learned so much reading that because this for me is a subject that I knew very little about. So, and I also I just wanted to say really quickly that I think all of the features in this issue balance each other really well. We kind of have like our hard hitting, like life and death feature. And then this really beautiful intermingling of culture and heritage and healing. And then kind of a peek behind the curtain of these doctors. I just think it's really well-rounded, not to toot our own horns.
No, that's what we're here to do is toot away,
Toot,
right?
toot.
Especially after Dish Fest. No, that's a different topic. Also, Final Four guide. I was so busy with Dish Fest yesterday, I completely forgot to fill out a bracket. Anybody here fill out a bracket?
When's the first game?
First four, I think starts Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, we can still do it, right?
Yeah.
When we do an office.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking I was going to mention that to you. You guys can just do it. It's fun, random,
You'll probably beat me. I haven't watched a lick of college basketball this year, but
yeah.
I would win Judy's Super Bowl ones back in the day, and I don't watch football at all.
Exactly.
I just picked random things, and I was successful.
You have a good intuition. That's all you need is a good intuition, a woman's intuition.
Call upon my
Men can have
ancestors.
too,
there you go. But that's obviously the next big event coming to the Valley in early April. The Final Four will be out in Glendale at State Farm Stadium. It's stadium basketball. A lot of people have opinions on that. I personally hate it, but I get the joy of seeing that Saturday night, when both games go, that Final Four. It's one of the most electric atmospheres in sports. It's a bucket list for a lot of sports fans. It is for me. Hopefully I'll be able to go. I don't know.
They used to just hold the Final Four in regular basketball arenas, which usually seat around 20,000 people, but they thought that's just not enough, right? So they stage them in or in football stadiums. And so you've got 80,000 people around this little basketball court.
That was probably changed at least a decade ago.
I interviewed Bobby Hurley, who's the current head coach at ASU, and he was a big college star at Duke. He, was part of that team that won their first national championship, and he played in the first football stadium Final Four. It was in Indianapolis, and so he was part of that transition. He played in the previous year in the regular arena, and then he's in the football stadium, and he it definitely amps up the energy and the just the overall human mass there watching the game. So it was a fun piece. Doug Town, who does most of our history writing, did a piece on the very first Arizona men's college basketball team way back in like 1906.
It's such fun photography in that piece.
We found some great archival photography of these basketball players from over 100 years ago. It's great.
Playing in a dirt court.
Right,
a lot of short shorts.
Very short shorts.
I think the shorty shorts are coming back. They are coming back.
It's cyclical. It really is.
And then I kind of, I tried to do an all-time Arizona starting five. And the hard part of that was not to make it completely U of A dominated for the ASU fans. I did find a couple of them. ASU's basketball heyday was 50 years ago. It was in the 50s. They made two Elite Eights. There was a guy named Joe Caldwell. He was like the LeBron James of his day. He was
Jumping Joe Caldwell.
You've heard of him? Yeah. I'd never heard of the guy before, and I'm just doing the Heat homework on him. Wow, what a player!
As a Sun Devil, I appreciate our inclusion in the
also
list.
Got Lionel Hollins in from the 70s. So those were the two ASU guys.
Yeah, no, at ASU, and it's basketball is a sore subject in our land.
It is.
All right, so we'll put on our. I'll send an email out for brackets.
All right, let's do it.
We'll do that. What else did we miss? Anything else you guys want to mention about this issue? It's a huge issue. It's on newsstands now. A lot lot of it's on phoenixmag.com.
The cover, we have Chris Bianco on the cover.
Let's talk about that because from what I've been here for about 4 years, and I swear our boss Brett has brought up Bianco and his doctor, I think every single year. Has this been something that you've been wanting to get on the cover as Chris and his doctor?
We tried to make it happen last year, and I've always, we've all heard kind of Chris's story. He started this wonderful restaurant that has really had a huge impact and created ripples all across the country. But he had to step away from the kitchen at a certain point. He had baker's lung, which is it's kind of a version of asthma. It's a allergic reaction to flour that flies around when you're doing pizza dough. And so the idea was, well, why not? Doctor covers, top docs covers are always fun because we get to pick the doctor, that kind of thing. But they, a doctor year after year. It's sometimes it's nice to mix it up a little bit. We've had athletes on. We had the Honey Badger Tyrann Matthew on one year. And different kind of celebrities who were adjacent to medicine. So we thought, why not get Chris and his doctor on? And I kind of reached out, and he told me that his doctor was Frank Agnone, who's a Phoenix internist, who always makes the list, or has for many years now. And then it clicked right there. It's like, let's get Frank Agnone on with Chris Bianco, his most famous client. And it worked this year, and they both were a lot of fun and amenable to it, and had a lot of fun with the writer, Jimmy McGahern, who wrote the piece. They have a great rapport, and I think it's one of the more fun pieces.
Yeah, that kind of struck me as like a genuine friendship that they have, right?
Truly.
Yes, the interview reads like you're eavesdropping on the guys in The Sopranos, like outside the deli, like just like shooting the breeze, and it's just so funny. You get such a sense of their characters and their personalities.
PG rated, though.
Indeed, yes.
No, PG-13.
Oh, PG-13.
Yeah. I think there's an S-bomb in there.
All right. So, there we go.
Yeah, spicy.
I was going to say spicy.
It's a spicy meatball.
Now, there's a lot of soprano language that can start with S, but I won't go into it. What else, you guys? Great issue. A lot of food reviews, obviously, at the back.
A
lot of
Nikki Buchanan reviews Pyro,
Yep.
which is a big sensation right now out there in dining up in the that new Colony development on 44th Street in Camelback. And
is that inside that Global Ambassador? Or is
no, it's outside.
It's outside. Okay.
Yeah, it's not one of the Sam Fox restaurants in the Global Ambassador. It's modern Japanese steakhouse concept right across the street from it, across the way. So we got a review in there and a few other restaurants, all the usual stuff we usually put in the magazine.
I'm most excited for the Smash Burger article because that's my favorite style. So I'm pumped that they're having a resurgence in popularity. And
I never knew there was a thing before now.
yeah.
We've been trying to recreate smash burger type stuff at home. When you guys
ruin
go
a
out,
lot of meat that way.
Yeah, there must be some sort of way these guys are doing it, because when you order from, like, what is it, Jimmy?
Bad
Bad
Jimmy's.
Jimmy's.
Bad Jimmy's?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Talk about a Sopranos character.
Yeah. Like they do it right. Who would think to press all the liquid out of a burger? And
I think you can also create on the ends of the burger, the periphery. You smash down just a little bit so that it burns quickly, and you get that crispy halo.
It's both an art and a science.
You have to
Sure.
do a
There you
double
go.
spatula method. So it's like, and then push it down.
Right.
I've been doing that. I have the special press for it and the special spatulas, but
Fancy.
A method I'm going to try that I was doing a deep dive on is that some people grate butter and mix it in with the meat.
Oh.
So that way it gives an
Whoa.
extra bit of fat, but it melts quickly. So not to be a food nerd.
And
but-
prevents it from burning.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I
any
like that.
when you guys do your food reviews or you go out to restaurants, do you ever try to recreate that at home, or you just kind of leave it at that?
Oh, it's happened.
I don't even bother.
Always.
I have a fun story. I had brine chicken for the first time like 20 years ago. I'd never heard the term before, so I tried doing it at home, and I brined the chicken for like 3 days. And I'm like, it's got to be the more the better, right? And when you're biting into it, was like, I think my blood pressure tripled like in a second. It was like so salty and hard. It was like, what the hell was that? My wife was my fiance at that point. I cooked it for her, and she was like, oh. Still married me, but it was hit or miss there for a second.
Then Craig order it out, and the rest is history. You married the woman, and all was good.
Last
right?
time I ever cooked.
Well, thank you guys for joining us again on this podcast. We'll try to do it again here on the next issue. What do we got for the next issue coming up in May?
Summer travel is going to be the dominant theme in that one, and we're all writing different travel features tailored to the summer travel market and crowd. So we've got quite a few in there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We even have a freelance writer who knows Clue Haywood, who's friends with him, who's a kind of a Twitter star here in the Valley, and is an attorney and sort of an anonymous figure. They go on this like Hunter S. Thompson style road trip, visiting each of Arizona's 20-odd casinos in one weekend, dropping $200 at each one.
I've heard about that thread. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun piece. And there's
Very
a few
cool.
pieces like that. And then
Are we going to be able to see Clue Haywood? Because I think he's still anonymous, right?
He wants to be anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're commissioning illustrations.
Ah, very
like
good.
Ralph Steadman-esque.
All right.
So you're only going to get caricatures of Clue.
No, I like it. I keep the mystery alive, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right, very cool. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to our guests, Craig, Maddie, Mirelle, Leah, Angelina, and our new events person, Amanda, for joining us on today's podcast. Reminder, we have Best of the Valley nominations starting April 1st. Make sure to get your nominations for all your favorite local people, businesses, places, services, beer styles, everything for Best of the Valley starts April 1st, and then voting on all the nominations, the top nominations, starts May 1st. So make sure to get those in on phoenixmag.com, and we will talk to you next time.